Thank you, Speaker. It's an honour to join the condolence motion, and before I speak on my relevant portfolio corrections, I also want to pay tribute to the Victorians, Australians, Americans, and indeed the wildlife that has been tragically taken during these recent bushfires. I also want to obviously pay tribute to the Premier, Emergency Services Minister, Cabinet colleagues, and you hear the contributions from both sides of the Parliament today, local members, regional members, and you just do see, Speaker, how bushfires affect everyone. Now, it came up to me a couple of occasions what actually happens to prisoners during a bushfire. And many members probably weren't aware, but across Australia, about 6 prisons were evacuated, mainly along the eastern seaboard, a couple in Queensland, New South Wales, and one in Victoria. And there is no living history at the moment that we are aware of that ever before has a prison been fully evacuated in Victoria. And the reason for my contribution to this motion, Speaker, is to put on record as Corrections Minister my deep thanks and appreciation to Dr Emma Cassar, the Corrections Commissioner, her Assistant Commissioners and Deputy Commissioners, but in particular the General Managers involved at Beechworth Prison, in particular Terry Joseph, and Mick Trotter at Durrangale. You know, about 190 prisoners evacuation is no easy feat. And when you're doing it for the first time, and for it to go the success that it went is something very important. We do know, we would have heard about it if it wasn't a success, but it was a success and they are to be congratulated. I also, though, hope, Speaker, that it says a little bit about our government and the humane approach we take to prisoners. We actually evacuated, Corrections Victoria evacuated some prisoners from Beechworth with the Corryong fire and smoke. A very small number got evacuated first and foremost, and then the decision had been made by the Commissioner in consultation with the Emergency Services Commissioner and the Police Commissioner to do the full evacuation. And the Emergency Preparedness Plan was activated on the 3rd of January and it was a success. And I took great delight being able to travel to Beechworth and Durrangale as well to, in person, thank not only the hard-working corrections staff, but also the prisoners as well. You know, prisoners are very much used to their routine, their structured day, their education, their industry participation, and then to get up and have that uplifted and moved to another location isn't always easy. But I think it does show that this government was about prevention as much as we could, and as well as putting humanity first. And the facility has returned to normal, and, you know, but the corrections officer staff also were very much involved in their local CFA, helping the local community, helping their volunteers, because prisons are very much embedded in the local community. Speaker, I also had the pleasure with the Attorney-General this morning to attend the opening of the legal year, and I want to commend the Attorney. She essentially dedicated her speech to the role of the legal sector through bushfires. And we know through Black Saturday, I think the cost of Black Saturday, no one can put a figure on the 173 lives lost, but over $4.4 billion was the conservative estimate of the total cost of Black Saturday. Insurance claims of about $1.2 billion. And you've got to put that in context. That's people making insurance claims. That's not putting in the figures of people that are A, uninsured, or B, underinsured. So our community legal services, as we talk about recovery and we talk about going forward, are going to be very important. And the Attorney put that on record this morning at the opening of the legal year. And if I could just do one brief indulgence with my local community, and I want to commend the member for Bass for her acknowledgement of the South Sudanese community. And I deal with the South Sudanese community very regularly in terms of, particularly as Youth Justice Minister. But with the member for Essendon, I participated in a bushfire relief run on Sunday around Boeing Reserve, Strathmore, and I want to thank Athletics Essendon, Red and Black Running Team, Essendon Baseball Club and Northern Runners Club. We raised over $3,000 that will go to the Victorian Bushfire Appeal, as well as the Victorian Wildlife Funds and the appeal. But I'm getting to the South Sudanese connection. When I got out the car, Jerkai, known as Jerry Aninyan, approached me. And I'd met Jerry before. A couple of times, member for Essendon and I have hit the cutting room floor because he was very involved in the Buckley Street removal crossing. And I think maybe the transport infrastructure has probably met Jerry as well. He came up again just to thank me briefly for the government's infrastructure program and what it meant for him. He's actually worked on just about every major infrastructure project minister in the state. And, you know, I won't tell you his personal story from South Sudan and the family members he lost and the role of the experience in the refugee camp, but that was another great story of someone who had turned their life around, but again was giving back. I did not expect to see Jerry at the fun run. I don't think you did either, member for Essendon. And to run alongside him, it gave me a good indication of where I sat as a runner, I've got to say. But that's it. But finally, Speaker, I just want to say something that the member for Minister for Child Protection touched on the role of community health services too. And when I visited Beechworth, I also visited Merry Health at Wangaratta, and they're responsible for our Victims Assistance Program, and their phone lines and their communications have been very important in these recent months. And as the Victim Support Minister, I want to just put on record my support for the role of our community health organisations right around the state for the work they're doing to support vulnerable Victorians and people that have been affected and are being traumatised and need every assistance they can get in that road to recovery. Finally, Black Saturday, Corrections Victoria, indeed prisoners, they've been shown here in Victoria, interstate and indeed around the world in places like California, do have a ready-made workforce that is ready to assist any way possible. We stand ready and we look forward to working through and assisting communities as we go forward. Thank you.